Hey guys, Anime Gypsy here with my very first review of an anime classic, Akira, written and directed by Katasuhiro Otomo in 1988. This anime classic is considered one of the best of all time, and this is how this video is going to work. It will start as a no spoiler review where I will talk about the anime without giving any spoilers. Then it will transition into a very much so spoiler review, and then we're going to talk about political and philosophical undertones in the anime as a whole. Let's get started. Okay, the no spoiler review starts like this. In terms of voice acting, it's decent. The dubbed versus the subbed. I prefer the subbed, but they're both pretty good. There are some issues with the dubbed when it comes to the kids in the anime. I think the voice acting there is a little bit iffy, but it's decent nonetheless. Now, this anime, if you're a fan of the science fiction genre, is definitely for you. If you love some political undertones, if you love some philosophical undertones, this is the anime for you as well. If you like political drama, this is maybe for you. This is definitely not drama heavy. There is some there actually it's a good blend of drama and action, so if you're into that, kudos to you. That's something that you might like. It's not, if you're expecting something very drama heavy, that's not Akira. If you're expecting something very action heavy, that isn't Akira either. It's a good blend. That's the best way I could describe it. It's a good blend of both action and drama. Now, if you are planning to watch something a bit family friendly with the kids, Akira is most definitely not for you. Let me repeat that. Akira is most definitely not for you. There are certain parts of the female anatomy that are displayed in the movie that kids shouldn't see. There are certain words used and certain. Let me just say this: the language isn't for kids. There's a lot of gore. And just certain things like people poisoning themselves, people killing other people, stuff like that kids might be sensitive to. So if you're searching for something to watch with the family, Akira is most definitely not for you. Now, let's get into the most definitely spoiler review. Okay, this is how we're gonna start. Kaneda, in my perspective, is a very good main protagonist. He does not show the cliche shonen protagonist type spiel that we're used to at this point of time, where he's either just as dumb as bricks but is very driven, but at the same time he isn't there isn't a solid emphasis on his drive every single frame as we are used to with certain shonen tropes. And I'm not dissing on shonens, to be honest, because I like some shonens. I like my One Piece. I like my Naruto. I like some of those mainstream animes. But it's refreshing to see something else. A not a Asta, a not a Naruto, a not a Luffy, because we have seen that for way too long. This is a good fresh breath. This is a good breath of air. A good fresh breath of air. Now, the main antagonist is Tetsuo. And this is what I like about how Tetsuo is handled. You feel sorry for the dude. You don't know, well, you do know who to root for, but you can't stop feeling sorry for the dude. He's not a guy that you just nonchalantly hate, like, ooh, I hate you. I wish you die. This isn't Ryuko Matui. This isn't someone that you wish to see dead. This isn't Kaguya. This is a character that, in terms of villains, Tetsuo, in my perspective, he isn't Meruem level in terms of how good a character he is when it comes to villainy, when it comes to being a villain. He isn't Meruem level, but he displays certain aspects that are similar to Meruem, even though Meruem came later. So I'm not saying that he's influenced from him, but the concept of a character that you just feel sorry for, part of you does anyway. Meruem initially you didn't feel sorry for. So he has aspects of Meruem and Light Yagami. It's kind of hard to explain, but the way I'm gonna put it is this way. In terms of the I feel sorry for him at the very end, you feel that, which is something you feel with Meruem at the very end. Not beginning Meruem. He's not like beginning Meruem at all. He's like end Meruem, kind of, minus the philosophy, just the emotion. Now this is the aspect of Meruem. Now the aspect from Light Yagami that he has is basically his. He was a good guy and he starts sloping and sloping and sloping and sloping and sloping, and down he goes into the depth of darkness, and he is a bad guy now, and its power is slowly consuming his mind. So in that sense, he is somewhat like Yagami. Now I'm not saying that he's as good as any of those two characters. In fact, I'd argue that Tetsuo, in terms of his character, he's nowhere near their level. He is simply nowhere near their level. Now, let's talk about scope. When this anime starts, you have a good understanding of the scope. You see a big explosion, and that scene, immediately, the first thing you think of, governments are going to be all over this. We're going to see, like, a war. This is like a transnational type deal. This is an atomic bomb. This is like a national epidemic. This is a national emergency. And then we cut to a street gang. And this sudden change of scope, you're like, what happened to the national emergency nuclear bomb explosion in the middle of Neo Tokyo? What happened to all of that? Or pre-Neo Tokyo, because I guess that was before everything went down during World War III. And I find it funny that this happens. This is supposed to take place. The setting takes place in 2019, exactly 1 year from this year. So I just find this hilarious. Well, not exactly. 1 year minus a month from today is 2019. So just found that just thought I'd point that out. Now, in terms of predictability, this is something that a lot of animes nowadays, sadly, fall into. And I'm not only talking about shonen. There are other animes that aren't shonen, and that are actually more abusive of predictability than actual shonens. Prime example, Fairy Tail. I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate by saying that, but you just think about it this way. Fairy Tail has been very predictable in terms of who lives and who dies. Everyone saw Urza's. Okay, I'm not gonna spoil anything. But you get the point. It's not a predictable anime, and the reason it's not predictable is you have characters like Kori and Yamagato and Kori, two characters that you thought were going to stay with you for a long time but ended up dying out. So that's basically a good example of that specific anime not being predictable. This is not your fairy tale. This is not your fairy tale. This is an anime that you won't see people dying in as easily. Now, the setting of New Tokyo. Sort of, I mean, I like the setting, to be honest. A lot of streets in Cairo actually look like that, where they're graffitied and dirty, and there's trash all over the streets, and people doing whatnot. I mean, that is classic, like, that is like as downtown Cairo. Well, not downtown Cairo. Certain parts of Cairo definitely look like that. So I just thought I'd point that out, in case, like, just for fun. Now, in terms of chronology, the chronology of what we find out when it comes to Akira, I thought was pretty nice, because we get little details, and as the movie goes on, the details get bigger and bigger. It's not your average shonen or plus fairy tale where you have a flashback. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but what I'm used to is like a flashback that shows almost everything, minus just a few aspects that are important to the story or whatnot. But this is not what we got. We got flashes like this. Flashes. A flash here, a flash there, and we're supposed to pick up stuff off of that. Now, if you're not used to that, of course, that's going to be kind of difficult. But if you are, kudos to you. Now, I found that interesting and it's kind of refreshing. But since I'm used to, and I do like the shonen type manga and shonen type anime, I like to see like every nitty gritty detail of everything displayed on the screen. That's why I like One Piece. That's why I like Naruto. Even though in certain parts, like you wish you could see certain things that are teased, but you never do. I mean, Akira, it's kind of the same way where you don't see what the original Akira did to start the Third World War. I mean, we get a big tease out of the council, the Neo Tokyo Council, teasing us by telling us that this Akira started World War III, but we don't see it. So that's just one of the frustrating things about the movie that I didn't like. And to be honest, my expectations for this movie was yay high. It was yay high because I've heard people hyping this movie ever since I got into anime. So when I watched it, I was like, seriously? But it's a good movie. I mean, if I hadn't had my expectations so high, it was a good movie. If it's like something I went into watching without having any sort of expectation, I would have loved it. I would have. It's just a lot of people overhype it. And overhyping something is getting to be a problem in my perspective. For me, particularly, because I can't tell you how many times someone's told me, oh, dude, this anime is so great. You should watch it. And you hear that from like 20 different friends, 20 different people online, and like some guy you've never even met or just met. And then you watch it and you're like, oh, that's okay. And then you rewatch and you're like, actually, no, that's good. That's good. It's just, I had such a unrealistically high idea of how good this movie was going to be. I just didn't live up to it. So that's honestly my perspective of Akira. Akira. Now, let's talk power levels, just for fun. Tatsuo. We can't talk about Akira's power level because we have not seen what Akira could do. But Tetsuo, his power level is actually pretty powerful. Now, I'm not talking about Dragon Ball powerful because rarely do you have anime that could reach the Dragon Ball Toriko manga level where you could destroy planets and you have interest. Like, no, no, it's not that. He is a very powerful character, though. In terms of like power scales, I would say, comparing him to Naruto, I would say that Akira is Jonin level. Jonin level comes to Naruto comparisons. He is not a all powerful, oh, I could kill anyone just by creating waves or whatnot, or just crushing them, because we don't see him doing that to the kids. So, which basically means that he couldn't do that to people who have control of the internal like life energy that he has access to, aka chakra, aka ki, aka reishi. So he's not someone that could go up to Genryusai Yamamoto and be like, "You dead?" No, Genryusai Yamamoto would just like turn him into ashes before he even had a chance to blink. So in terms of power level, that's where I'd put Tetsuo. Now Akira is a different story altogether because this is a guy that started a world war. So his power level has to be greater than Tetsuo, even at the very end. It has to be. Because if someone is able to create something that would put the whole world on high alert, then we're talking. That's some Madara shit. That is Madara level hype in terms of power. Again, not Dragon Ball. Those are very rare, except very rare people in anime could match Dragon Ball level characters or Toriko level characters, so on and so forth. With the exception of Yamcha. Yamcha is just a weak link that almost anyone in anime could take on because, yeah. So, let's talk about political undertones. Now, we have, during that period of time in the 80s and 90s, 80s, early 90s, so on and so forth, we have communist China, we have the Soviet Union's shadow, we have a lot of stuff going on with their very corrupt governments doing very, very shitty business and basically impoverishing their people. very corrupt dealings, multiple dictatorships all over the world, South America, Africa, um, certain parts of Europe, I guess, during that specific period of time. Asia, certain parts of Asia, like China, communist China, and how people were starving, and But Mao Zedong is the best all the way. Every day. Now, this is the thing about Akira. The political undertones were so explicit that, believe it or not, some guy that went to China during a revolt against Mao Zedong found 3 graffitis on a wall that really stood out to him. I forgot what the third one is, but the first one was a picture of Mao Zedong with Mickey Mouse ears. So that's kind of funny. The second one is a graffitied picture of Akira characters with the word revolution written under it. Now, if that doesn't speak volumes to how explicit the political undertones are in this series, I don't know what does. When an anime is used like this to promote revolution in a country, that speaks volumes towards political undertones in that series. Now, in that scene that we see the council, the very corrupt Neo-Tokyo Council being arrested, you see them burning a lot of paper. And obviously, they're trying to cover up their dirty tracks and whatnot because they've been doing a lot of dirty business with a lot of dirty people, and they're going to get arrested and investigated, so they don't want to, get caught with their tail between their legs, so to speak. So you have all of that going on at the same time. Those people are overflowing with money. You have folk, outside of the government, people that are starving in garbage-ridden streets that haven't been renovated very much in probably decades. You have places that are dirty. They look like they haven't been cleaned in decades as well. You have, the school is just filled with graffiti. Nobody gives 2 shits about anything because there isn't much money going around. It's very apparent when you have everywhere you go, it's like a shithole, basically. So when you see people like that, people that run the country, living in luxury and being able to fill bags full of money, that just speaks volumes. That really does. And very reminiscent of stuff relating to certain aspects of certain communist regimes, certain dictatorships in Africa. So you have this as being a undertone, sort of subtextual message that fuck those guys. That's basically what the subtextual message is. Fuck the people that take advantage of the populace just to get rich and don't really care about their country. This is the thing. The only person that gave a damn about Tokyo, period, was the colonel. That was it. That was the only person that was legitimately concerned about Tokyo when it comes to the government. Everyone else in the government was corrupt, was very corrupt. The corruption spewed out of their body. Now, let's talk about philosophy. Now, there are 3 concepts I want to talk to you about when it comes to philosophy. And actually, 3 terms I want to talk about, and a huge concept. The 3 terms: hedonism, nihilism, and nationalism. When it comes to nationalism, the only character that we see embodying nationalism in the series the only character we see embodying nationalism in the series is Ryo, the head of the revolutionaries. He is doing this from his perspective in order to help his country. This is a matter that is done to protect his country. He is someone that is searching for change. He's someone that is legitimately concerned. He thinks that releasing Akira will help him and create a revolution. That is what he thinks. That is what he's led to believe. So that is what you have. Now, hedonism. Hedonism is the concept of pursuing happiness no matter what. Being someone that is just after the smiles and cares about nothing else. Nobody cares unless nobody cares. The only thing I care about Sorry, nobody matters. The only thing that matters is just me being happy. That is hedonism. Hedonism is ignoring everyone else and saying, I'm number one. I don't care if all those people die or are just sad all the time at the expense of me being rich, me being happy. And Nezu symbolizes that. Nezu manipulates Rio in order to try and attempt to bring down the current government, possibly create a revolt or something of the sort. But you get the sense at the very end that he is an individual that is only after his self-interest, when his true colors are revealed at the very end, and you see him running with stacks of money and just caring only for himself, so on and so forth, and him killing himself when you realize that things are getting rough. It's me first. So narcissism and hedonism are embodied in Nezu, and egocentrism, obviously. Nihilism. Fuck the rules. That's basically what it is. We don't care what's right, we don't care what's wrong, just screw the rules. And the concept of nihilism is seen with the bike gangs at first, where they don't care about the rules, they do whatever they want. Screw the rules. I could pee in the middle of the street for all I care. Oh, I just killed a guy with a bike. Who cares? I'm just, yeah, who cares? We're just doing our thing. We don't care about the rules. What you talking about? No. We don't care about societal norms. No. We don't care if people call us what they call us. We'll just do what we want. That's nihilism. The only difference between nihilism and hedonism is when it comes to nihilism, that doesn't necessarily mean you don't care. It just means you don't care about the rules, specifically right or wrong. That is somewhat ambiguous. It is not something solid with you. That is the first impression, and let me emphasize, it's the first impression you get with the bike gang. And then you delve deeper into the character, and you realize that they have an understanding about what is right and what is wrong. Most of them, anyways. The clown bike gang, that's another matter entirely. But when it comes to Kaneda Tetsuo, you have an understanding that they originally had a understanding of right and wrong, a concept that they could grasp, that they are willing to basically save people at the expense of their lives. They treat women a certain way. There is a foundation of right and wrong there. But the first impression is nihilistic. Now, the big concept of philosophy. Now, I can't pronounce this guy's name. I believe he's German. His name is Hirembend. He's and this is Paul Hirembend. The Paul Heraband. Paul Heraband is a guy we have to talk about if we're going to talk about philosophy in Akira. This guy argues that science shouldn't... Okay, so actually, no, this is not how I'm going to begin. How I'm going to begin talking about him is basically this. There are two extremes in Akira. Two opposite sides of the spectrum. Okay, this is the spectrum. This side over here, you have the doctor, the scientist who experiments on people and basically created the phenomenon called Akira. On the other side, you have the Shinto priest preaching nonsense and causing disorder and basically people dying because of the protests he makes. The extremist Shinto priest. So on one side, you have religiocentricity. On the other end, you have scientism, which is not a word I just made up. It is the actual belief that everything revolves around science. Now, there's nothing wrong in saying something along those lines if you're not including morals, if you're not including specific actions in those statements. When it comes to the boundaries of science, sure. And when it comes to material matter, sure. But when you're using science to explain social norms, social behaviors in a very materialistic way, that's no. You're going too far. Heraband once said that he was afraid that science would create a monster. This is the thing about him. He believed that there should be a separation between science and state, just like there is a separation between church and state. This is a guy that saw the terrors of Nazi Germany firsthand. This is a guy that saw twisted experiments where people mutilated kids and basically like sewed them together. This is a guy who saw kids being routinely put under like gas masks in order to test different gases. This is a guy who's seen what, you know, curiosity could bring, the morbid reality that lies behind curiosity. This is the type of thing that this guy has seen, and he's arguing that a science-based government will eventually lead to a loss of morality in the pursuit of curiosity. This is something that is important to note because you have stuff like this happening all the time. Prime example, Nazi Germany. Prime example, the Soviet Union experimenting on animals and human beings, and other sources currently that I wouldn't want to talk about because politics. Now, okay, Paul. So, when it comes to stuff like that, basically, Akira's message is, philosophically speaking, in that particular concept, is you shouldn't overstretch science. You shouldn't go to the boundaries of God, as the doctor said. The doctor said that should we pursue the boundaries of God, or something along those lines. And as we saw in this movie, the answer to this is an explicit no with an exclamation point at the very end. Because what you get is a monster. What you get is an inhumane freak of nature that will destroy everything, including your fabric of morality. Now, this is all I have to say about Akira. If you enjoyed the review, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you'd like. And until next time, guys, this is Anime Gypsy, and I'm out.